16, application for disability insurance benefits. So if you're applying for Social Security disability, this is the form that you would be completing. Sometimes you might be in a better position to go through this paperwork if you set up an appointment with the Social Security Administration, and other times you're going to possibly need to hire a third party that is experienced in completing disability claims. So in this video, we'll just walk through the form itself, but really the challenge that most people have with their Social Security disability claims is the supporting documentation. So making sure that your documentation lines up with the decision-making process that the Social Security Administration has. Making sure that your documentation on your specific disability kind of answers the questions that the SSA needs to answer in order to certify that someone is entitled to disability benefits. So in this video, we're just going to take the first step and walk through the form so that you understand it. But just understand that simply understanding the form doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely ready to file for those benefits. So just take some precaution with that. So we're going to walk through this example using our hero John Doe. And in line 1, print first name, middle initial, and last name. In line 2, enter the Social Security number. Line 3, enter your gender, male or female. If you don't speak English as your preferred language, then you should enter your preferred language in question 4. So I just outlined English here to illustrate that example. In line 5 is the date of birth in 5A, and then in 5B, the city and the state where you were born. So if you are not a U.S. citizen, then you would check no and answer 6B. If you are, then you can check yes and go directly to line 7. So are you a citizen? If you have to go to 6B, are you an alien lawfully present in the United States? And then if that's not the case, then you would enter the date where you were lawfully admitted to the United States. In line 7, we'll cover any aliases or other names that you might have used. So if you're married and you changed your name, you would enter your birth name in line 7, or if you had your name legally changed for any other reason, you would put your original name here. And then in 7B and 7C, you would enter any other names that you've used. And in line 8, you would do the same thing for any other Social Security numbers that you might have used. If you changed your Social Security number for personal security reasons or something like that, then you would enter that change information here. Now we're going to start talking about some of the work-related conditions. So when did you start, when do you believe that your conditions were so severe that you could not work? Even if you never have worked, if there's an injury, you can probably specify the date. If you received a diagnosis, it probably would be the date of that diagnosis, so on and so forth. In line 10, you'll check whether or not you or your spouse or a prior spouse worked in the railroad industry for 5 years or more. And then we'll enter in line 7 whether or not you have Social Security credits based on another country's Social Security system. So in this example, we do not. So these are all questions that relate to whether or not you're covered under a different pension plan. In line 12, are you entitled to or expect to be receiving a pension based on your work after 1956 that's not covered by Social Security? So if your answer was yes, then you would complete the rest of line 12. In line 13, we're going to enter marriage information and just understand that's a big section. Then in line 14, you have information fields for your children. Then you have self-employed income, You have names and addresses of places where you worked in the past year. So let's just take a step back and walk through the marriage information. So if you weren't married, you could just hit no and go to the next item. We're going to take some time and go through this. So if you're not currently married, then you would just hit none and go on to the next section. However, in line 13B, we're going to enter the spouse's name. So in 13C, if you were previously married, then you would enter information about that. So, and then if you, in 13D, you would enter information about any marriage that you previously had, if you had children that were either under age 16 or if they're disabled or handicapped. If they were married less than 10 years to the child's mother or father, or if the marriage ended in divorce. So basically, if you had any previous marriages, even if they're finished and completed or over, if someone else from that marriage might have been a beneficiary. So previous marriage here would be if you had a marriage that lasted 10 years, if you had a marriage that ended due to the death of your spouse, regardless of how long you were married, or if you were divorced, remarried, and within the year following the divorce, and the combined marriage was 10 years or more. So all of those indicate that either you could be eligible for your ex-spouse's benefits, or you would file benefits based on your ex-spouse's earnings history, and vice versa. So if you did file a claim based on your ex-spouse's benefits, there's no impact to them, just like there'd be no impact to you if they filed based on your benefits. It simply means if, when you're going through your different options of how you can file for benefits, the Social Security Administration wants to see what is available so that you can pick the highest paying set of benefits. But if you did have a marriage, that you would enter the spouse's name, when you were married, where you were married, how the marriage ended, divorce or death, when and where, and then the same information we just entered for the current marriage. And then again, in section D, you would enter the marriage information, but this time it's based on, if there are children that might also be beneficiaries. So this is all information to make sure that anyone who is eligible for benefits based on someone else's earnings history, all of that's documented. So in line 14, if your benefits are approved, then your children may be eligible for benefits based on your earnings record. And by children, the Social Security Administration includes adopted children, stepchildren, or also any dependent grandchildren, to include step-grandchildren. So the Doe family has one child who is, let's see, she's age 16. I'll just say that she's age 16. But any children that are under the age of 18, either 18 or 19, and they're attending some sort of school, so either high school or college full time, or if they're disabled or handicapped, and the disability began before the age of 22, then those all would be eligible dependents based on your earnings history. In line 15, did you have wages or self-employment income in all years from 1978 through last year? So if you did not, you would enter the years where you did not have any wages or self-employment income. We'll just enter yes for simplicity purposes, but if you didn't, you'd have to enter 2010 or 2013, whatever years that might apply in your earnings history. In line 16, we're going to enter the names and addresses of any people, companies, or agencies for whom you've worked either this year and last year. If none, we'll write none below and then go to item 17. If you have more than 3 prior employers within the past year and this year, then you would need to use the remarks section. So let's just say there. So in this case, our hero John Doe has been working for Acme Landscaping Company since January of 2022. Turns out that that's where he threw out his back, and that's why he's filing for disability. So line 17 would be for self-employed income. He was not self-employed, but if he had been, then you would say, what was he doing? He was a self-employed landscaper. Right. So, but since he was employed by another company, we'll move on. Now, how much were your total earnings last year? Wage and self-employment income. And then how much have you earned so far this year? Are you unable to work because of your illnesses, injuries, or conditions? So if you answer no and you're still under or you're able to work, then in line 19B you would enter the day that you became able to work again. But if you answer yes, you're still unable to work, then you skip and you move over to line 20. So are your illnesses, injuries, or conditions related to your work? Yes. Are you blind and have low vision even with glasses? In this case, no. In line 22, do you intend to file for other public disability benefits? So again, in this case, this is where it would be very helpful to have someone that's experienced in the Social Security Administration rules and procedures understand how you're going to claim different benefits to make sure that you're making the correct decision. So in this case, he is not going to file for any other disability benefits. But if you're a veteran of the armed forces and you have VA disability, a lot of people do, you would enter that here. If you're applying for, or if you've already applied for supplemental security income or welfare benefits, then you would enter those here. So did you receive any money from an employer on or before the date? Again, truthful, be honest. So like if it's workman's compensation, enter the amount of workman's comp, or in 23B, if you expect to be paid out, your sick pay or your vacation pay, whatever the case may be. So in this case, we'll just say no to the workman's comp, but he did have about $5,000 worth of vacation pay that he ended up having to take or paid out. Let's see. Do you have a child under the age of 3 living with you in calendar years where you had no earnings? He has 1 daughter. Do you have a dependent parent who is receiving at least 1/2 support? in this case, we'll just say that he does. And then if you were unable to work because of age 22, do you have a parent who's receiving Social Security or who is deceased? So we'll just answer no to that question. And then in the remarks section on page 5, you'll enter any additional spaces for explanations. So you may discuss the nature of your back injury, but realistically, you're going to be providing a lot of that information in terms of supporting documentation. So, again, walk through this with either the firm that you hire to help your Social Security claim or with the Social Security Administration office to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward when you're putting your remarks section in. And then your sworn signature, and again, this is a signature under the penalty of perjury, that you've examined everything and that it's all correct. You'll enter your telephone number, and then down below, you're going to want to enter your direct deposit payment information. So, your routing transit number, your account number, your mailing address, and then you'll see this on just about every Social Security form. If you sign with a regular signature, first name, middle initial, and last name, then you don't need to fill out this field below. If for some reason you sign by putting an X in the signature field, then you would need to have two signatures of witnesses that personally know you and their addresses. So X is still a legally accepted signature for the Social Security Administration. That's what these blocks are for. And then on the back you have on page 6 the Privacy Act information stating that basically you don't have to provide any information that's outlined on the form. In return, the Social Security Administration does not have to approve your disability benefits request. According to the Paperwork Reduction Act, it should take about 20 minutes to read the instructions and complete the form. However, it's probably going to take you much longer to navigate the actual process in terms of your required medical appointments, your required medical records, and just making sure that everything is in order so that the Social Security Administration can approve your benefits. And then on the back, if you turn this into the Social Security Administration, you should receive a receipt on the back, and this is your point of contact, the Social Security Administration office, and the date that they received it. They should fill in the information about how many days it will take, and then of course here's a long list of all the changes in your personal situation that you need to report to the Social Security Administration. So anything with respect to the change in status, whether it's legal status, marital status, your address, if your condition improves, if you start receiving benefits from another source, all of those are changes that might impact your Social Security benefits, your disability benefits. And if you don't report them, then you may receive overpayments that the Social Security Administration will be seeking to take back. So there are ways to navigate through that process, but that's the importance of this form, is to make sure you understand that once you receive your benefits, you still need to make sure that you keep an open line of communication with the Social Security Administration. So that's all we have for this form. If you want more information, we actually cover it in much more detail. You can go to our website, teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in form SSA 16, and you should see a step-by-step article that we've written about this topic. And you can also find our article in the link that I'll put in the show notes. So if you want to actually walk through this form, feel free to use our article. And if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comment section. Thank you very much and have a great day.